Once King Ban and Bors departed from Arthur, Arthur eventually finds himself riding into the Welsh town of Carlion, where he comes across King Lot's wife, Morgause, or Morgause, and her sons Gawain, Gaheris, Agravain, and Gareth. Unbeknownst to Arthur, they have come under King Lot's command to spy upon Arthur, and blend into the court merely as guests, which is strange given that King Lot was one of the main instigators against Arthur's rule, and had just had his ass kicked at the Battle of Bedegraine. It's possible that Morgause and her sons had fled to Carlion when their home was sacked by the raiders which Merlin had prophesied, but Mallory doesn't confirm this, and seems to prefer the idea that Morgause and her sons were here on dubious accords. In any case, Arthur lays eyes upon Morgause, and, would you believe it, he wants to sleep with her. We are told that she is a beautiful woman, so one cannot blame him for his thoughts. But the dude did just have a child, and did just start having a thing for Guinevere, the daughter of King Lear de Grance. Furthermore, Morgause is married to his enemy in King Lot, but perhaps Arthur sees this as even more incentive to bang his enemy's wife. Morgause, who probably realised Arthur was a real winner given that he'd won the Battle of Bedegraine, agrees, and she and Arthur proceed to sleep together for an entire month, whereby she becomes pregnant. When she leaves Arthur's court, their affair is not disclosed, and both parties appear to go on with their lives as if nothing had happened. Although Arthur soon finds himself plagued by terrible dreams, could it be the guilt of having slept with a married woman? Or could it be the irresponsibleness of his actions that now sees him suffering such nightmares? Or maybe there is something more sinister about all of this that Arthur has not quite caught on to yet. The dreams he has involve him fighting off a horde of griffins and serpents, all of which are of terrifying size and strength. They wreak havoc on his kingdom, tearing apart his towns, his castles, his people, and even wounding him in horrible ways. His lands are burned by these creatures, and there are significant losses all round for everyone in his kingdom. Whilst he does go on to kill these creatures in his dream, the cost is heavy. Upon waking from his nightmare, Arthur chalks the whole thing up to nothing more than a bad dream. He gathers up a group of his knights and goes out hunting when he comes across a great deer, a deer he seems to become obsessed with. Mallory tells us that he rides for so long in hunt of this deer that his horse ends up dying out of tiredness. So given that he's pretty much stranded out here in the wilderness, he sends a servant to bring him another horse, whilst he takes a nap. It is during this nap that Arthur hears a strange set of sounds. Mallory refers to these sounds as the noise of 30 hounds. However, there are no such hounds to behold. As Arthur staggers from his sleep, he lays eyes on the strangest beast that he's ever seen. Whilst Mallory doesn't describe the animal here, we later learn that this is the questing beast, a bizarre hybrid creature that has the head and neck of a snake, the body of a leopard, the haunches of a lion, and the feet of a deer. You can only imagine Arthur's shock as he sees this creature meander its way before him, where it pauses to drink from a nearby fountain before darting off. Arthur ponders on the creature, but with no horse to chase after it, he can do no more but return to his nap. But once more, his nap is interrupted, only this time by a knight not in Arthur's employ. He demands to know if Arthur had seen the creature, and if he did, then which way it went, for he has been searching for this beast for a year and desires to have it. He tells Arthur that the beast had killed his horse, and that he has been chasing after the creature on foot for a long while. At that moment, Arthur's servant arrives with his horse, and we see Arthur proceed to adopt the nature of a man with a hero complex, maybe even an ego problem. Despite the knight claiming to have hunted the beast for an entire year, Arthur suddenly decides that he wants to hunt it instead, and that this knight should pretty much give up and go home, because the glory of hunting that beast now belongs to him. Conversely, you might also say that Arthur was actually trying to do the knight a favour and spare him the effort of having to hunt the beast further, but I think his sudden need to hunt the questing beast comes out of his own greediness. more than a genuine concern for the knight. But the knight does not concede, likely not aware that Arthur is king. He tells Arthur that he will hunt the beast, and that either he will achieve such a claim or that he'll bleed the rest of his blood in trying. Furthermore, he promises that if he does not capture the questing beast himself, then his offspring will surely avenge him where he failed. Before Arthur can even argue, the knight steals Arthur's horse and tells him that if he harbours any ill will towards him, then he should seek him out in this very spot, where they can settle their score. Once more, Arthur is left horseless in the wilderness and has to send the servant back again to get another horse. In the meantime, Arthur was likely annoyed at having his horse stolen by some common knight in the first place, and the last thing he would have wanted at this point was some mind games from Merlin. So Merlin arrives and proceeds to do exactly that. He takes the form of a young boy and asks Arthur why he looks so sad. Arthur begins to pout, telling the boy that he had seen a marvellous beast, but that he has no horse to chase after it. The boy proceeds to agree, telling Arthur that he too knows of the beast, but then he proceeds to chastise Arthur, telling him that feeling sorry for himself won't fix anything. You can only imagine Arthur's state of mind at this point. Not only has he been plagued by bad dreams, but he hadn't caught the deer he'd been chasing. He'd had his horse stolen, and now he was being talked down to by a mere boy. I'm surprised Arthur didn't give the twerp a slap, but again, perhaps we see more of the old Arthur still residing in there, one who knows humility and respect. The boy proceeds to overstep the mark though, and says he knows of Arthur's father and mother, one being King Uther Pendragon and the other being Queen Igraine. Arthur snaps at the boy, declaring his words untrue, and that even if they were true, how would a boy even know of such things anyway? Mallory tells us that Arthur was wroth with the child, and so Merlin traded his disguise as a boy and replaced it with that of an old man. The old man initiates the conversation in the exact same way the boy did, asking Arthur why he looked so sad. Arthur replies with the same things, but also that he was irked by a young boy who claimed to know his heritage better than he did. The old man nods in agreement and tells Arthur that the child was telling the truth, and that he would have delivered more truth had Arthur suffered him longer. He then proceeds to berate Arthur, telling him that God is displeased with him, because, well, when Arthur slept with Morgause, he wasn't just sleeping with his enemy's wife, he was also sleeping with his own sister. Yep, Morgause was the daughter of the Duke of Tintagel and Arthur's biological mother, Igraine. Merlin, as the old man states, God is displeased with you, for ye have lain by your sister, and on her ye have gotten a child, that shall destroy you and all the knights of your realm. For those of you more aware of Arthurian legend, you'll know that this child is none other than Mordred, who we'll speak about later on. When Arthur cannot fathom how this old man knows these things, Merlin abandons his disguise and reveals himself. Now, you might wonder why Merlin even bothers to take disguises, and perhaps yes, he's doing this just to mess with Arthur, but perhaps he's also trying to gauge how Arthur treats his subjects. Notice how dismissive he was of the boy when the boy began to tread on his toes, but also how reverent he was to the old man when poised with the same words. Merlin even chastises Arthur for assuming the boy was beneath him, given that he declares the boy would have told him more truths had he suffered him. In this, Merlin is teaching Arthur a valuable lesson as king, and that is to listen to all of his subjects, regardless of their age or status, for everyone in their own right might have something of importance for him to hear. In any case, Arthur appreciates Merlin's approach, but doesn't show much concern nor disgust at having boned his own half-sister. In fact, he seems far more concerned with the prophecy that the child his half-sister now carries will destroy him, and even goes as far as to marvel at the idea. If anything, it's possible he doesn't quite believe Merlin, or at least doesn't want to. He can't fathom how this child of his will be his downfall, and therefore does not grasp the severity of Merlin's proclamation. Whilst we don't see much of a reaction from Arthur, we do see a rather telling reaction from Merlin, one that really highlights his disgust for Arthur in that moment, and one that reveals how truly resentful he is towards his king. He says, "It is God's will your body to be punished for your foul deeds, but I may well be sorry, for I shall die a shameful death, to be put in the earth quick, and ye shall die a worshipful death." Merlin's scorn for Arthur here is palpable. He recognises that when he himself dies, he will be laid to the earth swiftly, without much of a second thought, despite everything he has done for the kingdom. Yet, when Arthur dies, he will be worshipped, despite having had sex with his own half-sister, and bringing forth their wicked child into the world. It is one of the first times we see Merlin actually sickened by Arthur's antics, the other times being when he berated him for being so bloodthirsty in the Battle of Bedegraine, but at least he was able to rein Arthur back in then, from making a grievous mistake. This time the mistake has already been made, and Merlin can do nothing but make his repulsion of the matter clear. In fairness to Arthur though, it's not like he knew it was his half-sister, but again, perhaps there is a lesson here, in that one should not go about dipping their quill in every inkpot they find, because one of them might be your sister or something. As Arthur and Merlin talk, Arthur's servant arrives with the horse, and I for one think it would have been hilarious if Merlin stole this horse and made Arthur wait again. But it seems the servant had the initiative to bring with him 2 horses, and the pair ride their way back to Carleon. In the next video, we'll see Arthur question his foster father Sir Ector as to the trueness of Merlin's words, that Uther Pendragon and Queen Igraine were his parents, which then spurs on Arthur to summon his mother to court, where she must answer for her secrecy. We'll also be looking at the unfortunate hero himself, the knight known as Sir Griflet. As always guys, if you've enjoyed today's video, then don't forget to give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Until the next time.